All right, let's get right into it. We're about to pull back the curtain on the unwritten rules of the corporate world. Because let's be honest, the skills that get you in the door are almost never the ones that get you to the top. The whole game changes, and today we're going to give you the playbook for every single level. You know the feeling, right? You're doing great work, you're hitting your targets, but the next step up feels, well, murky. It's like the rule book for getting promoted was secretly rewritten. And that's a super common feeling. But it's not random. There's actually a logic to it, and it all starts when you realize you're not really climbing a ladder. I want you to think about it this way. Every promotion isn't just one more rung up. It's like you're stepping out of one stadium and into a completely different one, with a whole new game, a new set of rules, and a totally new way to score points. So let's break down these different arenas. You can basically boil it down to 3 major levels inside any company. And here's the key. Each level operates on its own unique currency, what people actually value. If you can figure out the currency for your level and the one above you, you've cracked the code. Okay, so when you're first starting out, the game is almost entirely social. Your technical skills? That's just the price of admission. It's why they hired you. The real game changer is how people feel about working with you. Are you reliable? Do you have your team's back? Can they count on you? At this stage, your currency, the thing you trade on, is simply trust. But once you've earned that trust, the game completely shifts. As you move into that mid-level, people already assume you're trustworthy. The new game is all about execution. Can you take a big, messy problem and solve it? Can you turn a leader's strategy into a real result? It's all about delivering. Your new currency is pure competence. And then you get to the senior levels, and the rules change one last, dramatic time. Up here, everyone is competent. That's just a given. The real game becomes political. We're talking about big decisions, huge budgets, and competing priorities. Success now is all about how well you navigate those power dynamics and build coalitions. Your currency becomes your alliances. So to put it really simply, your career is this evolution. You start by mastering relationships, doing people. Then you master getting stuff done, doing things. And finally, you have to master structuring power and resources, which is really all about doing deals and building systems. All right, I know what you're thinking. That word, politics, it can sound kinda icky, but it doesn't have to be. Once you understand the game, the next step is just learning how to play it without getting burned, especially when you've got different teams or factions competing with each other. This is all about political self-preservation. So here are 4 golden rules. First, don't pick a side and wave their flag. Instead, become the essential expert that both sides absolutely need to talk to. Second, always ground what you say in data, not drama. Third, make sure your skills are valuable to the whole company, not just one boss who might leave. And last, be the calm in the storm. The person who brings clarity when everyone else is bringing chaos is always safe. And this is huge. It comes down to the very words you use. You have to avoid what's called positional language. Emotional opinions, gossip, taking sides. That stuff just ties you to one faction. You want to focus on professional language. You talk about data, risk, the impact on the business. That way, you're seen as a pragmatist, not a political player. Okay, so you know how to survive, but how do you actually thrive? What if you don't have a powerful boss in your corner? What if you're not part of the in crowd? Can you still get ahead? Oh, absolutely. In fact, it might even be better, because you're building your career on a foundation of pure, undeniable value. It really comes down to these 3 pillars. First, you have to become the go-to person for the hard problems, the ones nobody else wants to touch. Second, you build your credibility across different teams, not just in your own little bubble. And third, you level up from just doing your job to actually designing the systems that help everybody else do theirs better. So enough with the theory, let's make this super practical. We're going to lay out a concrete 3-year roadmap to take you from being a valuable employee to being someone the organization literally cannot imagine functioning without. This is how you become unavoidable. Here's the 30,000-foot view. In your first year, the goal is to become indispensable to your immediate team. Year 2, you zoom out and become visible across different departments. And in year 3, you become structural. You're not just in the machine, you're a key part of how the machine works. All right, year 1, your mission is to go deep. You actively seek out those messy projects, the ones that are stuck or super complicated. Why? Because when you solve them, you create value that nobody can argue with. You're building a reputation for being the most reliable person in the room. And you have to prove it with numbers. Saying, "I made things better" is useless. It's too vague.
But saying, I reduced the project's costs by 15%, that is the language of business. It's proof, not opinion.
These numbers become your secret weapon. They're your irrefutable case for a promotion. I shortened our lead time by 30%. That's not just a claim, it's a measurable impact that gets leaders to sit up and pay attention.
Now, in year 2, you pivot. You go broad. You start volunteering for projects that connect with other departments. This gets your name and your competence in front of a whole new set of leaders. And when you talk to your own boss, you bring them solutions, not just problems. And this is key. You share the credit. Every time you make someone else look good, you're making a deposit in your goodwill account that spans the whole company. Year 3. This is the final evolution. This is where you go from being an executor to being an architect. You're not just checking off tasks, you're redesigning the whole workflow. You make yourself promotable by training the person who's going to take your job. And your number one focus becomes, how do I make my boss's job easier? So when you lay it all out like this, you can really see that journey. You transform from a stable problem solver who is simply irreplaceable to a cross-team coordinator who is highly visible, and finally to a system designer who becomes absolutely necessary to the organization's future.
And that brings us to the single most important takeaway from all of this. Real, long-term career security doesn't come from hitching your wagon to a powerful boss. That's fragile. Real security comes from the undeniable structural value that you yourself create. Think about it. When there's a reorg or the political winds shift, patrons can fall. Bosses can leave. But the value you've built, the systems you designed, the problems you solved, the reputation you've earned across the company, that's your foundation. That's what keeps you standing and thriving no matter what storm rolls through.
So I'll leave you with this question. Not someday, but right now. Looking at your work, what is one messy process you can fix? One cross-team relationship you can build? What is one small piece of structural value you can start building this quarter?